Good morning and welcome to the Daily Word with Pulaski Heights United Methodist Church. My name is Kathleen McMurray, one of the pastors here, and I'm so thankful that you are here with us sharing in this time of devotion on Monday, December 7th. December 7th is a day where here in the United States we remember Pearl Harbor, a day that will live in infamy. A day when our country was attacked, when people died, a day of tragedy. And while we would like to think that that is unique, that an attack that hurts and harms a massive number of people is a one-time thing, the reality is that too often this happens. Too often people are hurt and harmed. Too often acts of violence happen because the world is not as it should be. Violence and hatred, oppression, racism, retaliation, revenge, we find ourselves in the midst of brokenness. But if we look for Scripture, we can find words of hope. Our scripture today from Micah 4, verses 1 through 4 from the Message transliteration reads, "When all is said and done, God's temple on the mountain, firmly fixed, will dominate all mountains, towering above surrounding hills. People will stream to it, and many nations set out for it, saying, 'Come, let's climb God's mountain. Let's go to the temple of Jacob's God. He will teach us how to live. We'll know how to live God's way. True teaching will issue from Zion, God's revelation from Jerusalem. He'll establish justice in the rabble of nations and settle disputes in faraway places. They'll trade in their swords for shovels, their spears for rakes and hoes. Nations will quit fighting each other, quit learning how to kill one another. Each man will sit under his own shade tree. Each woman in safety will tend to her own garden. God of the angel armies says so, and he means what he says." When all is said and all is done, when all is said and all is done, at the end of it all, nations will stop fighting each other. We will be creators with God and creation instead of destructors of it. We will live in the way of God. This is a crazy season in an even crazier year. A lot is not the way that we want it to be because the world is not as it should be. But our hope in Advent is even more poignant this year than it ever has been before. When all is said and all is done, we will live in God's way. For God's reign will be forever. Let's look forward to that as we continue in this season of waiting, in this year of waiting and struggle. May you have hope that when all is said and all is done, God reigns forever.